Hi, everybody. Welcome to Erotic Connections. Erotic Connections is a free monthly class that I do online, totally for you. So if you want to get more information on that, you can sign up for my newsletter, moniquegomez.com. And this month, we're going to be talking about how to build a sacred sexual relationship with yourself. So again, my name is Monique Gomez, and I just want to welcome you. You know, I'm a sexologist and health educator. I am an erotic coach, and my background has been in health education with an emphasis on our physical body and sexuality. And I have over 12 years experience in body work, meaning like massage therapy, working in medical massage practice. I've had a lot of training in different shamanic practices and coaching, and you know, tantra and Taoist sexual beliefs as well. So I basically say I'm an intimacy and embodiment enthusiast, right? So I love anything that goes deep, that talks about our sacredness and connecting and weaving our physical body into the unseen realms. I also teach a lot and talk a lot and work with people around relationships and connection, because as a human, and what we are here to do is to relate and to connect. So this is part of why I love doing these erotic connections every month. We get a chance to connect and be a part of a community. And, you know, overall, I just love people living their most authentic, creative self. I believe that when you ignite your sexual energy, your erotic energy, it gives you this fire to create even more. And when we understand that energy, we can walk through the world with it in a way that feels true to who we are. And, you know, everyone has a journey to awakening their deepest truth. And my journey began about 9 years ago. I struggled a lot with addiction to alcohol. And I grew up with some, you know, traumas and abuse and things like that, and sexual confusions. And I used alcohol as this numbing agent, as like my medicine at the time. And 9 years ago, I hit this point. I broke, and I decided I wanted to commit to my healing journey. And so that was a spiritual and sexual awakening at the time. Not only was I completely radically changing everything in my life, but you know, I met somebody who was a tantric master and helped me open up to this idea of tantra. And so there was a lot of practice in it, and how to live. You know, tantra is a lifestyle. It is not just about orgasm and sex. It is living an orgasmic life. So it's living through this space of awareness, mindfulness, and a true knowing of self. And that way it's expressed in a really beautiful way, you know? So that's a little bit about my journey. You can find out more about what I do and who I am at moniquegomez.com. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. I'm on those areas. So if you're interested in learning more, check those out. Awesome. Let's go into what you are going to learn today. So we are going to talk about why taking care of self needs to be priority. We're going to look at why looking at your relationship with yourself is as sacred is game-changing. And we're going to go over the 7 pillars that create the foundation to a sacred relationship, especially a sacred sexual relationship. Okay, not only with self, but with others. I'm going to talk about a really exciting program I have coming up, and we're going to go through a guided meditation. So that is kind of the outline for the next hour. So let's go ahead and dive in. So first of all, we need to put ourselves first. It is not selfish to put yourself first. There is a great TED Talk out there. I'm forgetting the presenter, but it's all about, you know, putting self first is letting go of that preconceived notion that that is a selfish thing to do, and that, or also owning that it's selfish, like moving the program around being selfish as bad or wrong, but actually, yes, like I need to be selfish in order to show up into the world in a true way, right? So you've probably heard of the oxygen mask theory, which is, you know, we're traveling in the airplane and they always say if the oxygen masks fall, you put it on the other person first, right? No, no, no. You put it on yourself first. That is the oxygen mask theory. You cannot show up for others if you don't show up for yourself first. So they tell you, you must put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on your child, before you put it on somebody else who needs help. Because if you cannot, if you are not able to do it yourself, how are you able to help anybody else, right? So there's two keys in this self first space that I teach, and it is, you know, first we ground in the present moment, and then we're in our body, we're embodied. Okay, so those are the two main ways that you can keep yourself first, and giving yourself little reminders throughout the day and to be in this present moment and to make sure that it is you who's first in this moment, like taking those little steps to do that. So grounding can just be simply finding your breath and going into your body for embodiment. Both of those, using your breath as an anchoring to get into that, is huge. Okay, so putting yourself first is not selfish. It is actually the best thing you can do for anyone involved. Okay, here we go. So let's talk about sacred. So the word sacred basically means you're devoted exclusively to one service or use as of a person or purpose. And what sacred is an entitled to reverence and respect. Okay, so sacred evokes that feeling of spirit, of the unseen realm. Whatever your religious belief is, whatever you believe around that, even if you don't believe there's something else, there is a feeling, a sense that that is happening inside where there's an attention to that sacredness within inside you. So sacred is commitment to an evolution of your soul. And when we talk about creating a sacred sexual relationship, you have to be committed to growth. So this work is not for people who are going to be, who think they are masters, who think they are stuck, or who think they know everything. I truly believe in the philosophy of you are a constant student throughout your life, right? So you're always learning and evolving. And the moment you cap that is the moment you stop. And it is a sacred act to commit to that kind of evolution within this time frame that you are on, in this body on this planet. So that is why shifting the way you approach life as a sacred journey or a sacred path is a game changer, because you start noticing, you start seeing opportunities, you start seeing different curiosities that come up for you, because you are seeing this as holy, seeing this as prayer almost to something bigger. And when it comes to your sexual expression and your sexual relationship with yourself, sex and soul are not separate. They're actually one. And if you want to have a incredible erotic expression and landscape in nature, there is going to be an element of your soul that comes through, because that is your essence. Sex can be superficial, and right now it is rampant that it is superficial. And so slowing it down, diving a little deeper, getting connected to the sacred element is what will shift your entire experience with sexuality and your erotic nature. All right, so let's now go through the 7 pillars to create a sacred relationship with yourself. Okay, so we're building basically a foundation with these 7 pillars that creates the sacred sexual relationship with you. The first pillar is body or embodiment. So embodiment is basically being in your body, 100% being in this present moment, bringing your attention into your body. So that is, how are you moving? What are you feeling? Noticing, oh, the chair against your skin. You're noticing this moment, right? Noticing the sun coming through. You are feeling through and experiencing this world through your 5 senses, your touch, smell, taste, sound, sight. You are in a sentient body that is meant to experience the world through the senses. Imagine you don't have senses. You weren't able to touch something, you didn't feel something, you didn't smell something, you didn't taste something, you didn't hear something, right? You can't see anything. These are all vital to your experience. And so when you're in body and when you bring your mind and your attention into these essence, into these parts of you, you begin the work of embodiment. And when you're embodied, you begin showing up to the world, showing up in the world in a wholeness. And that translates into your sexual relationships or your sexuality. It can be really scary to be in the body. There's a lot of fear around being in the body, especially right now. You know, we do not learn how to trust our bodies. Actually, we learn the opposite. We learn to give our power away. We learn to give our body power away to doctors and things like that, to medical people. I am a believer that when you know how to listen to your body, it tells you what it needs, and trust your body that it will do that. So not only that you need to trust it, but also you have a whole body acceptance. So our physical body is one thing that we are experiencing this life through, but we also have an emotional body, a mental body, a spiritual body, an energetic body. So the energetic aspects of us, again, all of these that are unseen, but it creates the wholeness. And that is what we need to accept. And that's what we need to trust. But being in the physical body in these moments is the number one foundation. You must be present in your experience to shift and to start even creating any sacred experience, any sacred relationship with yourself. Okay. So one question to ask is, how do you relate to your body? What is it? What are some beliefs you have about your body? Check in with that. Ask yourself these questions. Get curious, because how you relate to your body is going to be a huge guide, to where you can either improve it or, continue on the path of curiosity. So if you're talking down about your body all the time, or if you're just not even relating to it at all, like you don't feel your body until something's like killing you and aching, and you're like, like I need to go to the doctor now because it's like too late. So a lot of this is about preventing you to get to that part of, or that place where you have to give your power away. It's practicing almost prevention of that place. So you are checking in with your body all the time to be in it, so that you can accept it, you can cultivate the trust with it, and then that is the foundation to creating a sacred sexual relationship with yourself, okay, and with anybody else. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is pleasure. So accepting pleasure as your birthright. There's a lot of feelings, thoughts, beliefs around pleasure, what that is, what is pleasure versus pain, what is pleasure versus indulgence. And we can have a lot of judgments, And pleasure is something that you are in this sentient being to feel. Humans, we are wired to experience pleasure, and you can create a highway to pleasure, meaning often we have kind of like a dirt road, right? Like a trail that's like bumpy, like it's hard, like we don't really know if we're on the right track to pleasure, right? Or we have like a lot of roadblocks to it, like landslides have taken over the road. So it stops us from experiencing pleasure. And what this highway to pleasure is knowing, like think of a highway when you're driving on a nice highway, it's a smooth ride. You're feeling free. You're feeling like you can do it, right? Like it's easy to be on that highway compared to the dirt road. So a way to create this highway to pleasure is through neuroplasticity. And this is basically your brain creating neurotransmitter connections that the more you practice pleasure, the more your brain is going to get onto that highway to pleasure, okay? So the more you do something, the more your brain not only wants to go down that same road, creating this highway rather than this dirt path, but it also starts looking for ways of pleasure. So noticing, you know, pleasure is definitely in the realm of our sexuality or our eroticism. But finding pleasure throughout the day is how you create this highway. And so pleasure of, you know, feeling the sun on your skin, feeling the warmth of that cup of tea, right? Like noticing these moments that are pleasurable. And again, that takes being in your body, that takes taking a moment, being in the present moment to drop down. When I say drop down, most of us live from the head up. So drop into our body and feel pleasure. So just a question, you know, reflect. What is a belief you have about pleasure? What is something when the word pleasure comes up that you immediately believe, that immediately gets projected into your head? Get curious about that, because when we start getting curious about our beliefs, we can then see if they work for us or not. Okay, because a lot of our beliefs aren't ours. They come from somebody else, come from the collective. And so part of this journey to get into your cultivating a relationship with yourself is to know what you believe, right? What is it that resonates the most with you? So I encourage you to kind of write down some beliefs that you have around pleasure. All right, so that is the second pillar. The third is reverence. So this is honoring yourself, your journey, and your experiences, all of your experiences, the good and the bad. It's respecting all of your erotic nature. So eroticism is complex. That's why I love it, right? Like your erotic nature is not sex. Sex is an act of eroticism. And sex is actually, when you look at I did a little video on this, when you look at the root of sex, it is, you know, basically to divide. It is the sex of male and female, right? But erotic comes from Eros, which is the god of love, and it is that passionate desire, right? So our erotic nature, or your erotic nature, is made up of different aspects, like your sexualness, or your sexual aspect, the actual direct sexual lust, primal, like desire, right? There's the sensual aspect. So it's this pleasure element, feeling through the senses, an energetic element. What is that energy feeling, you know, that slowness, the unseen, and then the kinky, like the taboo. And, you know, all of these are part of each of us, and revering those, like respecting all of them is a huge beginning. Just knowing that you have every aspect in you, none of them are bad, wrong, or anything, like, and to get curious about them is a huge step. And part of the reverence piece is, you know, unwinding sexual shames and guilts, you know, so we have a greater capacity for love, bringing in the spirit, bringing in this sacredness. There's a ton of ways we get shamed around sex. or feel guilty around sex. And so this is a huge pillar. I mean, there's so many parts in this one topic that we can go into, because this is where a lot of the trauma or abuse and things like that we've had to experience that kind of have created these shame thoughts, or ways that we shame ourselves. It's time to unwind those, you know, and bring in that love, that unconditional space of care for self. And so just a quick little, you know, reflection time. So what are 3 judgments you have around sex? What are 3 things that you notice that come up when you think of sex? And then the next part of that is like, how can you honor them? You know, that is reverence. That is bowing in and just, I have these judgments, and you don't have to do anything else but just see them and honor them and respect them, that they're part of you right now. Not that they have to be forever, but that right now, these are what come up. Okay, so this pillar is a really, I think of it as this one that can hold a lot of weight, right? It can be very heavy, and coming out of that is the reverence. So it has all the shame and the guilt and the heaviness, but it also brings the light. So that is number 3, around this way to create and build a sacred relationship, sacred sexual relationship. Awesome. Okay, so number 4 is love yourself. Self-love. Not only loving self, but also making love to yourself. Self-love can be kind of a kitschy term. It's like, oh yeah, self-love, self-pleasure, self-things. Like, amazing. I love that. I love that we're bringing in self-love. When I talk about self-love, I mean self-love, making love to yourself, masturbation. You know, masturbation is a practice of self-love to the highest self. You know, some masturbation is all different kinds of things, and you can masturbate for any different reasons or however that's created. But in this specific pillar, I love to explore masturbation as this tool to weave, right, to connect your sexual energy, weave it with your heart, weave it with your highest self, with your soul. So I talk a lot about mindful erotic practice. In one of my courses, we go over mindful erotic practice. I actually give it to you, but basically this is creating sacred space to give yourself time to make love to yourself. That is being aware of the surroundings, the senses, right? How do you hold yourself in masturbation? Is it something you do very quickly to get it over with? Because that's what you were kind of taught. It's a habit, right? So in this pillar, it's about exploring, allowing yourself to explore a bigness in the way that you think of your soulmate, right? Like, you think of your soulmate and you think of, oh my God, I have so much love to give them. I want to explore so many things. I have such this bigness. Well, put yourself on the other end of that, because you are your soulmate, right? So it's like, how do you make love to your inner lover, your inner soulmate? And when you can really understand yourself in this way, you show up to any relationship, any sexual relationship, differently, and with a knowledge that you will never give your power away again. Like, sex is no longer a power play. Sex is something that becomes sacred, and respected, and in the expression, right? So I would love for you to just reflect. What does your current masturbation practice look like today? Again, is it something that you never do, you do every day, you do multiple times a day? Is it quick and just to get off? Is it a whole, you know, ceremony? Like, what does it look like? And it might look different all the time, but just kind of reflect, like, what are some feelings that come up for you around masturbation? Do you feel excited? Do you feel guilty? Do you feel a little shame? Like, all of these things, when you start getting curious about them and giving them attention, they help you in the process of unwinding and cultivating, building the sacred sexual relationship. Okay, so that is pillar number 4. Pillar number 5 is intuition. So this is the ability to understand, to understand something immediately without the need of conscious reasoning. So that is what your intuition is. And basically it's your inner guide, right? It's that unspoken, like, it's not in the mind at all, it's more in the body. Or I feel it in my body. You know, I have a friend, we were talking about it recently, and she feels it kind of like right above her head, like right above her crown chakra. It's like this essence or this voice that guides her through there. I feel guided, like it's this deep inner channel for me that I have to quiet everything else, and it's like that whisper behind the scenes. Okay. Intuition is a very feminine quality. When I talk about feminine, masculine energy, this is not female, male. This is yin, yang energy. This is the universal divinity of these dualities of energy, right? So you cannot have one without the other. One is created with the other. You cannot have dark without light or light without dark. So intuition is the yin or the feminine. It's that dark, the space holder. Okay, it's the listening. It's that not in the mind, but in the depths of body, the depths of knowing, the soul depths, if you will. So when you're connected to your intuition and you develop your intuition, you can find clarity in your erotic needs, your wants, and boundaries, you know? And that's really important when you're cultivating a relationship, not only with yourself, but with others. When you have clarity for what feels good and what doesn't, and when you're able to listen to this guide and know your yes, your no, or your maybe, and when you can tap into that very quickly, what happens is the shame starts unwinding because you are listening and respecting and honoring this inner self, this inner guide, your truth. So, and again, it's for this moment, right? Your needs, wants, and boundaries will always be shifting. It's not like, oh, I found my boundary and this is what it is forever. No, like, part of listening to intuition and part of developing intuition is trusting it and knowing that it's going to change. So a question I like to pose here is, how often do you let your intuition guide your decisions? How often are you allowing that inner voice to speak first and not your mind, not your head, okay? Not the logical reasoning, because that's fine and good, but you disconnect from a depth that you can also get to. And part of cultivating this connection with yourself is practicing tapping into that intuition. It's practicing slowing down. It's practicing not always doing the logical thing, but doing the creative thing, doing the thing that feels a little different, right? Okay, so that is the, I believe, the 5th pillar, yes. And then now the 6th pillar is, you know, your expression. So creativity, I'm going to try to move this down a little bit. Creativity needs to be awakened and then expressed. So part of building the sacred sexual relationship with yourself is allowing your creative energy or your erotic energy or your sexual energy to be awakened and then express it. So when I say express it, it's not throwing your sexual energy around, right? There is a difference. Okay, so if you can feel, imagine you're walking down the street and you feel somebody like pushing their sexual energy on you, right? It feels yucky. It doesn't feel good. It feels like, oh gosh, like stop, right? Like it doesn't feel like this really controlled or really like honored space. That is, it's an expression of energy, but it's not like a true holding and honoring expression of energy. Okay, it's almost like you're just throwing it out. You're putting it on others. You're using your sexual energy as a power over, your creative energy as a power over. Ways that you can express your sexual energy that can be really healing and helpful in creating the sacredness is, you know, sharing your voice, sharing your thoughts, you know, sharing your actual sound through speaking, singing. You know, there's a vibration to the sound that helps move the creativity. So even just having a conversation around something that you're creating or around sexuality can be super helpful. With an awareness, again, all of this is mindfulness practice. You know, another way to express is crafting. So through your hands, that could be so many different things. It's not only like arts or crafts, it's like cooking and, you know, anything else you can do with your hands, like even self-love or masturbation, or using it for that tool. Again, with this awakened creativity, this awakened sexual energy. Writing is a really cool tool to use to express, because you can, again, use your hand. I always think of the hands as the extension of the heart space. So when you're writing, when you're putting your actual pen to paper, there is something that is energetically moving through the heart onto the paper, right? It's moving out. It's like this thread. It's different than typing. There's this energy that moves physically in our body, in the body, that gets it out. And then movement, so dancing, doing different kind of movements, stretching, things like that, can express this space. And these are all really, really important when you are, first of all, they help you not only get embodied and in the moment, but they help move the energetic space within. Okay, so a lot of sexual energy is the ultimate creative energy. And so when we awaken that, or when we start working with that, it needs to be let out. Okay, we want to move that energy, because energy is always in motion. So expressing your needs and desires is sacred empowerment. And you can do that through all these different ways. Okay, and so just ask yourself, you know, how often do you express yourself? What does that look like currently for you? And reflect, have a list, get curious about it. Because when you start seeing ways that you're already doing it, then you also see ways that you can. Or if you're seeing that you're really not, then you can see ways that you can start, you know. So expression is the sixth pillar to creating this foundation, okay? And then the last one is play. So play is often forgotten when talking about creating relationship. And play is super important in connecting and relating to other people. There's a spontaneity, and it's childlike. And think of when we play when we're kids, you know, there's this feeling in our body that is free, and there's not worries. We're not in our mind. We're way more in our body than in our mind. And so that's what play can bring to the sacred sexual part of us. It brings lightness and fun, and that can go a long way. So remembering that, you know, when we are in that playful space, the heaviness can drop. Yeah, we can laugh, we can explore, we can get more curious, play a game. You know, in the upcoming course there's a whole playbook that I have around erotic games and things like that you can do, because again, a lot of our sexual energy or our sexual experiences have come with a heaviness to them. And to counterbalance that, we can find the human childlike part of ourselves and of those experiences. it's an interesting thing when you start talking about, you know, traumas and abuses. We don't want to make light of them. We want to honor them, work through them, but find a lightness that can come as well, right? Again, that yin and yang, that balance of duality. So it doesn't have to stay heavy. It doesn't have to stay dark. It doesn't have to stay, yeah, I say dark, but not, it's like that dark energy, right? That sticky energy, that like heaviness in that you feel in your body when you think of certain sexual experiences. You can bring light to that, okay? So just asking yourself, do you allow yourself playtime, right? How do you want to play? One thing I did years ago was The Artist Way. I don't know if you know that book, but in that book, Julie Cameron talks a lot about taking yourself on artist dates. And I think of it taking yourself on play dates. Like, you know, what's something that really brings you pleasure? Is it going to the movies? Or I guess not now, but when things open up again, right? Like going to the park, going to the ocean, making a super yummy meal, you know, drawing, like playing with a crossword puzzle, coloring, you know, that's like such a fun, childlike, light thing to do. Just like get a coloring book and color. And that's playtime, right? Is it catching up with friends and, you know, having like play dates kind of, but, you know, doing it for yourself first is key because it opens up your whole, also your creative energy. And so, yeah, just reflecting, how do you find play throughout your day? Right? If you're feeling like, oh my God, this day sucks, this is so heavy, like nothing's going right, things will start shifting if you laugh, right? That's such an easy way to kind of cut energy. Just find the humor in it all. Make yourself laugh. There's this whole, you know, they've done a lot of studies around how laughter can physically shift how you, like what's going on inside, right? Your physiology. So playing with that, making yourself laugh for no reason, just making the laughing sound. You know, there's laughter yoga out there. And so like using these tools to find that play again, because adulting can be very difficult, and around cultivating sexual, you know, sacredness with yourself, it doesn't have to hold such a huge, like the word sacred also can hold such a huge like religious kind of connotation. Taking that away, bringing in play helps take that away. Okay. All right. So that is basically all of the 7 pillars. I hope that that gives you a little bit more information about, or just like ways that you can start examining kind of how you're going through your day, taking these 7 pillars, keeping them in mind as you grow your foundation. And just one thing I want to talk to you about before I go and before we do our meditation is, you know, I have this course that's coming up called Sacred Erotic Awakening. And it's this 5-week online program that begins October 5th. And I do it a few times a year. But the next one is coming up. And basically it's mentorship, inner guidance, and connection. And so this program is for people who are on the path of awakening to their own truth. If you know that there's more out there to this life and to your creativity, this class is for you. You know, if you want to own your eroticism without apology, you value ceremony, you believe in the magic of sex, and you believe in knowing your authenticity, and you're ready to explore your inner world and sexual nature, this is the program. It's 5 weeks. We dive deep. You know, you get 8 specific coaching videos, 7 erotic soul guidebooks. So we're going to go over the 7 pillars way more in depth, give you tools, give you exercises in these guidebooks that will help you, that you have, you know, that you can keep going back to. We're going to have 2 online ceremonies, which I'm super excited about. The first online ceremony is October 9th, and that is all about activating your sacred sexual altar. So we're going to go over how to create one of those, and then we're going to actually join together and activate it. There's tons of journal prompts, mantras, exercises you can do long after the course ends, over 10 erotic practices, that erotic playbook I was talking about, full of like fun erotic games. So you get that. You get a bonus lesson, Tantra 101. Like I said, a lot of my experience has been in the tantric arts and this weaving of the soul and spirit, even in like our kinkiness, even in the taboo. So Tantra 101 is that course. And then, the 2 live ceremonies, not only activating your sacred sexual altar, but also awakening your inner lover and going into that ceremony. So I'm super excited to have you join in. If you want, you can, there's a link here. I'll put it in the description as well. And you can always find this info out at moniquegomez.com. So, learn about this 5-week transformation through this link through moniquegomez.com. And basically you're walking your sacred erotic path. I believe when you wake up your eroticism and you really learn and honor, and it becomes empowered, and then you show up in the world in such a different way, because sex is no longer a tool to power over, but it is a tool of empowerment. So check it out if you're interested. Super stoked. It's only $347 for the 5 weeks. I want to keep it very reasonable for people, especially in this time. And I hope that you can join in. If you have any questions, you can also email me at info@moniquegomez.com. Awesome. Okay, so now let's go into a little meditation as we close out. I'm going to move my screen a little. And I want you to, wherever you're sitting, I want you to find a comfortable position, and I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to notice just your breath. I want you to find your inhale and notice where the inhale moves in your body. And again, this is just a noticing. And I want you to just accept where the inhale is going. So finding acceptance for yourself, for your breath. And then focusing on your exhale. So now what does it feel like to release? What does it feel like to let go? Now just a quick practice here, a practice of embodiment, a practice of the feeling. I want you to imagine, and you're sharing a smile with a stranger. So notice how you feel after I say you get to share a smile with a stranger. What is the feeling in your body when you imagine yourself doing that? Just notice it. Now coming back to this time and space, coming back to your breath. I want you again to see how you feel. Notice how you feel after you imagine that you're looking into the eyes of a friend, one of your dear friends, and you're just looking into the eyes of them. What does that feel like? You're just noticing someone you love, you care about, a friend you've shared lots of time with. Now coming back, finding this time and space, keeping your eyes closed, and then now just notice how you feel after imagining that you're sharing a glance with a potential erotic partner. So there's somebody that you're interested in erotically, sexually. What does that feel like when you, in your body, when you share a glance with them? Knowing that you're interested in them erotically, that they're interested in you. Notice what that feels like in your body. What shifts, what changes are made. Now coming back to this time and space. And now noticing how you feel after you imagine, you're being held by someone you deeply, truly love. That this person is just holding you and you love them so much. What does that feel like? Is there release in the body? Does it feel, is there a sensation that comes up for you? Just notice how you feel after you imagine that person just holding you. And then now coming back to this time and space, feeling your breath in your body, your eyes are still closed. Now I want you to imagine, what does it feel like in your body being part of a community that you really love? Being part of that connection, being connected. What does that feel like in your body? What feelings or sensations come up for you? What words or images? What does that feeling of connection to community feel like? Beautiful. And then coming back to this time and space, finding that breath one more time, having all of those sensations that you just went through, honoring them. And then just go ahead and open your eyes, nice and slow, making any little movements or adjustments you need. But getting curious, about those parts of yourself and that you just explored, those feelings. And knowing that, these all evoked feelings within yourself. And those feelings are feelings that you created. Those are your feelings to have. So building a sexual, sacred relationship with yourself is knowing that you are creating your feelings. Somebody is not giving you a feeling. A scenario is happening and your feelings are being seen. Your feelings are showing up. Even the feeling of love. To be in love is the feeling of, it's your feeling of love, right? So you can be in love with somebody, but they are evoking this feeling of the self, of the love within self. That love can be evoked anytime, okay? That feeling can be evoked within yourself at any time for yourself. So overall, just knowing you do not need another to have the happiness, the joy, the deep love for yourself, to have those feelings. Those can all be created from you, with you. And so knowing that, having this practice of feeling that gets it into your knowing more and more that the relationship with yourself is the most sacred relationship that you have. And when you can build that, when you can honor that relationship, when you can practice giving yourself that time and attention, doing classes like this, connecting to people who honor that, connecting to yourself, making time carved out to read, to write, to do something creative, to express. Those are all powerful tools to help you be the best version of you. And so, you know, as we end here, I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of this little class, this webinar. You know, going out and putting yourself first, I think is on the edge of something big, right? We're building this bridge to empowering self. And then, because when you feel super solid in yourself, you show up in the world differently. And there's no need to put others down. There's no need to throw your sexual energy anywhere, power over. You just don't use those ways anymore in your connection and in your relating to people, because you feel pretty solid, right? Or you have the awareness to come quick back to self. So I hope this class gave you some more insights and some tools that you can use. Again, Sacred Erotic Awakening. If you are interested in diving way deeper into this work, for 5 weeks, we're going to go over the 7 pillars, meet live twice. It's a big transformational time. So check it out through the links below. MoniqueGomez.com is where you can find all that information. And yeah, stay curious, stay embodied, and just keep loving yourself as much as possible. And again, it's an honor to be with you. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can email me at info@moniquegomez.com. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, check it out. Get on my mailing list and you'll get all of these, you know, you'll be the first to know about all of these freebies I give out, and then also, you know, just different inspirations and posts and things like that I do. All right, and you can also subscribe to this channel because there's a lot more coming. Take care, and until next time, have a great sexual, sensual exploration with yourself. Bye.